Okay, here we go. Wait a minute. Wait, I was trying to wait till my music cut off because I'm not able to cut it off. So go ahead and talk, and then I'll come back in.
Okay. All right. All right. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon. You're in tune to Ron Marks and the simulcast with Beverly D. We're broadcasting live out of Detroit, and we always have a powerful show on Wednesdays. Sometimes it's a little too powerful, but we have a lot of fun. So tonight we're going to do a program, and we're going to entitle it, as I have, People, Are You Peoples or Citizens? Which one are you? Are you a people, or are you a citizen? That's the most important thing. One of our major problems that we have is we need to understand who we are and where do we live. That means you must know your status and your nationality. And I think I'm going to stay on that forever. We need to get busy on that information. Who are you and where are you? That will cut it right to the chase. The reason I'm stressing this is because we have so many people that are getting involved in sovereignty or freedom that they're wanting to jump right in at the top, and they are having problems. And I'm getting inundated with phone calls asking me so many basic questions that I figured that I had to stop taking the calls. But I took a second thought, and I decided to cut my week down. So I announced last week that I'll only be open telephone-wise from Monday to Thursday, 10 a.m. Monday to 6 p.m. on Thursdays. That's 24, what can I call it, 24/4? 24/4. Because I'm in so many time zones, and people are calling. California, for example, is 3 hours behind Detroit. 6 o'clock and 9 o'clock is a good time to make a phone call. But you're looking at 9 or 12 o'clock here in Detroit. And then you have people out on the East Coast that are 1 hour ahead. So it's a little thing that we need to work on. We also have callers that are coming in from England. I have several coming out of the Bahamas, quite a few down there in the Bahamas. And then we have, sporadically, I get calls from, where did I get it from? Where did she say she was from? I think she said she was in Egypt. A student was in Egypt. And I got another call from the west side of California. That was a bad call. The connection was bad. However, I love what I do, and I want to help as many as I can because I am not allowed to maintain. But turn it up. Turn it up.
Ron Marks?
Yes. So,
I'll just let you know that we are here.
And
the Truth to Power listeners are here.
Okay. All right. That's good. And I was just bringing up some information in regards to my timetable. And, I went down to four days a week. And I'm open 24/4. That's what I call it. I'm talking
okay.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. 10 a.m. Can she hear you? Yes. Beverly, you can hear me. 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. on Thursdays. So that's how it's set up. Now, the theme of our program tonight, Bev, is people are citizens. Which one are you? And what I'm basically asking is, who are you and where do you live? Now, who are you will give your status, and where are you gives you your nationality. Now, I can't help you on that. I can guide you on that, but I cannot help you. You need to study that factor. You need to study that factor, and that is, who are you and where are you? Now, the status is very simple. When you go to court, you need to set up your three items that happen when you enter court, and this is as a defendant. Your status, the jurisdiction, and then the adjudication. Status is, who are you? Jurisdiction means who has control over you. And then, of course, the adjudication means what kind of time are you going to get. Okay? Now, I can hear her, but I can't hear you. Wow. Bev, are you still listening? Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. You kind of sound far away, but I can hear you.
Far away. Is that on? What else? Yes. Far away. Yes.
But I can hear you. Are you?
I'm on the phone as we normally do with you.
Okay.
But we're having in-house problems, so I got to continue. I don't know why the audio man is having problems here on the inside. I don't know. However,
he can't hear you.
No.
Okay.
He cannot hear me. Nope. So, what are we going to do? All right. He's trying to work around me to get it, trying to get it started up. So, let me just reach over here behind me for a minute. What do you want me to unplug something? This? Yeah. That's not on over here. This is on. That might be it. All right. Okay, Bev, let's get busy. Now, I'm trying to, did you get a chance to look at any of the programs from last night?
I heard some of it, and I also looked at this document that breaks down Moors in America. Yes.
Last night I spent. I'm going to get this up. Bring this up. Last night I went through the whole spread of how long we have been here, and I got some good information on that, and we're bringing it up right now as we speak. We're trying to get my thumb drive in and get it started. But we've been here upwards of 40,000 to 100,000 years. We've been in this land. Let's understand that. We've been in this land. And by being in the land, that means that we were here during Pangea. You're familiar with Pangea, because we were here during the Pangea. And the records.
I'm familiar with it. I'm familiar with it through the movie.
I know which one you're talking about.
Right.
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about. Yeah. So, anyway, now they had to use carbon data and artifacts to even put the program together. And they did a pretty good job of it, because what they didn't know and could not understand, they either hid it or destroyed it. But we know now, we're getting information that we belong to we come out of what can I say? How can I put this? We have a history that goes back so far before the European was even on Earth. Now, when you talk about your status, Bev, you need to go as far back as you possibly can. And that's one of the problems we have. And you need to study all of that information as to where you are, where you come from. So let's start out with the first, bring up that Moors in America. And I'm bringing it up now. And when I get it up, we're going to go to the first read reading, and I'm going down. I'll let you know where I am. Going down, and then we're going to stop at the status of the descendants of the Moorish inhabitants of Spain and Portugal on American soil. You see that?
What Sierra? What year are you talking about?
I didn't use a year. I want you to skip over that. Just keep going down, down, until you see the first red bold print, and it talks about the status of descendants of Moorish inhabitants. See it?
Wait a minute. The status of the descendants of the Moorish inhabitant. I have it.
Yes. Okay. All right. So now it says the status of the descendants of the Moorish inhabitants. You can read that. Read that, Bev.
Wait a minute. I have went somewhere else. Okay. The status of the descendants of the Moorish inhabitants of Spain and Portugal on American soil is free white person, natural men and women. This status does not apply to the Caucasian race, the Aryan race, or the Indo-European race under the Naturalization Act, amended by the Act July the 14th, 1879, Status 103, Section 3. See Black Law Dictionary, 4th edition, page 797.
Yes. Now, what's important about that is, number one, the Moors had populated the entire earth, meaning we were here first. Now, I'm using the term and the word Moor because it's a catch-all for the dark, melanated individuals that lived on this planet. And we occupied Spain. That's on the European record for 700 years. And Portugal. Okay? Now, the status that I say, who are you? They had a status back in those days, and that was called free white persons. Free white persons. Now, they did that because the blood mixture of the Spaniards, the natural Spaniards, and the natural Portuguese were mixed Moorish blood. So they had to distinguish between the mixed and the real. So they called the real the natural men and women and labeled them free white persons. Now, this was done way back prior to founding of the United States. But the United States took this and used it when they set up the second Constitution, the one you talk about there, and they only supplemented those clauses from the first Constitution in order to establish it. So I put in right here in front, I want you to read the whiteness and racial prerequisites of cases. I want you to read just a little bit of that, and I'll tell you when to stop. Whiteness.
Okay.
Start right.
Okay, whiteness and whiteness was a valuable commodity in the United States. It was unquestionably the most significant feature of citizenship requirement, according to Justice Roger B. Taney, infamous holding in the Dred Scott decision. Whereas the 1870 Nationalization Act provided... I can't hear you. What you say?
Yeah, go ahead. I'm listening.
Provided citizenship to white and blacks for other ethnic non-white population. Effects to neutralize were met with healing, legislative, and judicial opposition.
Okay, stop. Okay, stop.
But what do we call white, Ron?
No.
Don't black means white or something?
Okay. All right. Hold up. When they established this new Naturalization Act, they used that free white person, but they didn't say free. They just called them white persons. And yes, they had it was set up for blacks and whites, and they signified the white. They categorized or they dignified the whites versus the blacks, and for other ethnic non-white populations. So the purpose of that 1870 Act was to define white folks and at the same time define black folks. And it all came under this 1870 Naturalization Act. But it was used, I'll put it that way, as a racial move. This is the beginning of institutionalized racism in America. But, racism was always here. But it began to make it a legal a process when they called it a Naturalization Act that came from the government. Now they could set up all of their policies and programs around this Naturalization Act, and they could distinguish between the white person and the black person. Now, you're talking about the definition of black, which means bleached. That would probably have to go all the way back to this Aryan Act, and the not Aryan, but this Spain and Portugal Act, because that was just a process that they used. There was no racism. I'm trying to say to you that there was no color line racism until they started it in 1870 in the United States. Now, I don't know if that makes sense to you or not.
Yeah.
But I'm just trying to make you understand. Because, see, when they talk about this status of the Spaniards, you got to go back and look up the occupation of the Moors was way before 1879. And the next one that's under there that you just read, it dealt with 1870. So they were modifying that act of racial discrimination, and I guess they tried to justify it by bringing up the inhabitants of Spain and Portugal on the American soil. But what they were doing was differentiating between the black man and the white man. And Tanny, that you're talking about, this infamous holding in the Dred Scott case, made it very clear that no one of African descent could ever be a citizen of the United States. Now, I don't know if I'm giving it to you.
That's true, and that's true because the indigenous people that were already here before this corporation was formed cannot be a part of that corporation.
Correct. And they go all the way back to the original Constitution. It also was set up for white folks, and we're going to get to that. So let's skip the rest of this and start go down more, and then stop at 1787. You see it? 1787.
Okay, gotcha.
Yep. All right. Now, start reading that, and I'll stop you when you get to where you want to be.
Okay. Assisted by England, Scotland, Ireland, Netherlands, France, Germany. Ron, I can see that coming. I can hear myself on your side.
I didn't hear you.
I have feedback. I can hear myself on your side. It's like somebody has still on your end.
Wait a minute. Let me take a look.
Because I hear myself. Okay.
Yeah. This may be over here. Let me my fault.
Oh, okay.
All right. Now what do you hear?
So So far, I don't hear anything. Let me continue to read, then if I can tell if I can hear or not. Okay. Assisted by England, Scotland, Ireland, Netherlands, France, Germany, Finland, and Sweden, the United States of America ended their war with the Moors, Moroccan Empire, and signed the Treaty of Peace and Friendship with the Emperor Mohammed III, Moorish Mason. The aforementioned treaty is the longest.
Stop. All right. Now, 1787 was when the Constitution or the contract was presented to the United States. And notice the names of the persons that assisted in defeating the Moors, and they were all European nations.
All right.
So I've always said that England, Scotland, Ireland, Netherlands, France, Germany, Finland, and Sweden were all the signers of the treaty. Even the Declaration of Independence was signed by 6 European nations. It was truly set up for Europeans. You've got to understand that. It was set up for Europeans. And as a result of that, we are all mixed up today thinking that we are part of the United States, and that's why we catching hell, because we're not a part of the United States. Dred Scott proved it. There was another one that proved it. Oh yeah, the Constitution itself, Article 4 of the Constitution, where you have, it's called the full faith and credit article. It also talks about, that was Section 1. Section 4 talks about turning people in that run away, that have a crime. So racism and slavery has always been a part of, white supremacy has always been a part of the United States. That's what we're getting at. And it was signed by, it says right here, and signed the treaty with the Emperor Mohammed III. He was in charge of the entire Moorish nation. And you recall I gave you some information a little while back on him, because the United States told him that we may get to that. I think we will. That they need people to work. They don't have enough workers in the 13 colonies to create an empire. And he said, take those blacks that are there. They're not doing anything anyway. That's what Muhammad told the George Washington and company. So if you go ahead and look up that Muhammad relationship, it goes into some of that information, and I think I have it. So slide down a little bit more, and we're going to start on that Dred Scott case.
Okay, well, before we go there, Ron, what is a Moorish Mason? I mean, what is there a difference, or that's just his title, or that's what he was? What's the Moorish Mason?
All right. The way I understand it, the original Masons was persons that lived a righteous life, because to be a Mason, it's a way of life. It's not a religion. It's not a cult. It's just a way of life. And they're taught how to, let's say, stand up among men. And when I say stand up among men, I'm talking about you know your nationality, you know who you are, and you know where you are. The Masons are supposed to answer all of the questions. Now, don't forget, now we're going back in time. The Masonic order is supposed to answer all of the questions that we need to learn today. But when you hear people like myself tell you the Moors the Masons sold us out, they don't know who they are. They've made the Masonic order be a fun game, and they have misused it through the teachings, I'm not trying to make excuses, but through the teachings of the Europeans, the Moors, the Masons that are here today are persons who, as I could say, are sellouts. I'll call them that. They're sellouts. Now, if you get real high in the Masonic order, get up around that 33rd degree, the highest that they can go, you dig? There's 360 degrees in the circle, and they're only allowed to study 33 of them. So that ought to tell you something right there. And anyone that goes beyond that, or better yet, anyone that's a good Mason can be used in society because they know how to control a Mason. That's why my order has always been, I was taught very young, never, ever join anything. And that was one of the first offerings I had, because my whole family, all my uncles and my grandfather, they all were Masons. But now we're talking about back in the 30s and 40s when it meant something. See, the mindset in the 30s and 40s, they didn't talk about about freedom. They thought that they were free because they was Masons, and they were given privileges and benefits to that fact that they were Masons. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But now we know that the European is such a conniving, cheating, rotten crook that he'll do anything to turn any positiveness into a negative, and so we cannot be free. And I will say that I don't blame him, because I guess if I was in his position, I would want to maintain my position also. But I would be smart enough and have faith enough to understand that I could never be moved. I think they fear that if they are ever challenged, they will be put back where they come from, back in the caves. Let's do it that way. Or at least send them back. Go ahead.
Well, okay, I have two questions. One of them is when, what's his name, when he signed Muhammad III, is this the Treaty of Peace and Friendship that is on your authenticated birth certificate? Is this the treaty they're talking about?
No.
Okay.
It has nothing to do with it. That was the birth certificate was used. It was all connived to get control of the Masons so that they could enslave them, and they did it through the birth certificate. It had nothing to do with the treaty. Because one thing that you'll have to say, and everybody listening, whatever fault you had, whatever shortcomings you had, the answer is you asked for it. So you can't blame it on anybody. So you got to get that angriness out of your heart. And most of us are so mad at the European, we don't want to do anything to it or want to do anything to it. But it's not his fault. He only did what he was told to do, and he gave you an out. There was always an exit plan. Now, I agree that through force, you were scared to go through the door, but the door was open. You can never say the door was closed. And today, as we're coming into the age of Aquarius, we're learning how to control the door and the European so we can walk in freedom without any guns or ammunition. We don't need nothing. Just put our minds to work and study who we are and where are we. And that's very good to know. Who are you and where you come from? Which means, what is your status and what is your nationality? And I bet you 99% of our listeners cannot answer those questions. Dig it?
So what it seemed like is that when the Europeans got together and came over here, basically it was a takeover.
Yes. It was planned probably 100 years before it happened. Yes, it was a plan. And it was set up by the international banksters, and they brought in the let's call it the British hierarchy, the king and the queen and the dukes and the earls. All you got to do is start looking at some of them Robin Hood movies. You'll understand what I'm talking about. They all live good. I recall seeing a movie called The Black Rose with Sean Connery. And they were literally taking the waste food. And the king, they was inside the castle. They would dump it at night. They would dump it out on the ground, over the wall. And all the people would be out there to get the food. And they lived like that. Those were Europeans. They lived like that. And so when it came time to go to the New World, they all wanted to leave to get to a better way of life. So the kings who was going to release them to come, they set up programs. And one of the programs was to engulf, better yet, enslave all of the non-whites over there in the New World. And they set it up. And they sent their barons and their dukes and their earls over to be the overseer to make sure it worked. And then when they got to a point where they really needed to, because whites were fighting whites, and they were killing whites. There was no control. They told them they were free. So they went to killing each other, just living like animals. So the dukes and earls got permission from the king and the queen, or the king, and they told them that we're going to set it up where you could be like us. But they never did reach that plateau. But they said, we're going to make you a land baron, give you land. But you got to go and get somebody to work the land. And that's when all the process started. If you can imagine what I'm saying and look at it from a closed eye of imagination, you'll understand that they was getting those so-called white slaves that were coming off the ship. They was coming over in droves to get out from under that crap over in England. And they put them to work. They all had paperwork of what they had to do, how long they had to work. They made the deals. You would go and make a deal with a banker and say, okay, I'll go over there. I got a family of 10. I'll go over and work my family for 5 years on your land, and then you'll give me my freedom, and then throw in a couple of acres so I can live. That type of bargaining. And
but also they had to give England their cut also, right?
Yes.
Don't our money goes, even today it still go over there.
Well, keep in mind it was set up for it to come there. It's always been set up. I read today that the we can expand our knowledge of the United States of America, Inc., and say that it belongs to England. They can't even bring it on this land because it's against the Constitution for it to be here. Now, think about that.
You're breaking up. We're not hearing what you're saying.
Wow. I don't know. This thing, well, I'm sitting still. How about now? I don't know what to do. Yes, I'm here.
Okay, we hear you, but now we can, but you was breaking up. We didn't hear what you said.
Okay. I was saying that the King of England, the main program was to enslave America.
Are you on your phone again? Are you on your phone or your headphones?
I'm on the phone. And they keep going out. We don't know what the problem is. We're attached, hooked up. I'm not moving.
Are you on your headphones or your phone?
I'm on the telephone and I'm plugged into my headphone.
And see, the headphones is the problem.
Oh yeah. All right.
If you talk
well, let's
directly
do this.
in the phone, we can hear you.
All right. Well, then what I'll do, I'll disconnect the headphone. There we go. And now I'm talking directly in the phone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you better.
I wonder if we learned something. Yes, we did. All right. You can hear me better.
Yes.
All right. What I was saying was the banksters and the king of England, their initial program was to enslave the people of color in the New World. They had the program set up before they sent the slaves and set up the 13 colonies. It was always set up because there was no money, or better yet, the money and the gold and all of, not money, but gold and all the stuff, it was already taken back from the over there. Let's put it that way. I don't know what went on over there. And there's not much. History has never shown that there was anything in Europe, if you recall. Anything like, there's no oil drilling in Europe. And England itself is a rock. It's an island, nothing but an island. So there wasn't a damn thing on the island of the rock of England. That's why they had to explore and expand and go around the world and conquer. So when they set it up to come to America, they had it set up between the king and the pope that what they was going to do was set up a system where they would enslave everybody in the New World. And that's what they've done. We're all the slaves. And nobody wants to admit it, or most people don't want to admit it, but all you got to do is ask them, have they ever been free? And if they say, well, they don't know or whatever, say, well, then how can you make a decision that you're not a slave if you don't even know what freedom is? So anyway, that's a whole other argument, because most people are going to argue down that they're not slaves. So let's just leave it there. Let them be what they want to be. But to answer your question, the Moors were a thorn in the side of the Europeans. They could not defeat the Moors. Now, why would the Moors give them a treaty? I have no idea.
Right.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, you were coming in loud and clear. I want over there. Yeah.
I was coming in loud. So what? Say that again, babe.
I say,
do you have something else besides your computer going?
No, I do not.
Because when you disconnect it, huh?
I got two computers, but I got the one is muted out. That's when you were getting an echo. And then I disconnected the headset, and I'm talking directly into the phone. And how does it sound now? Can you hear me?
You're not fading so far.
Okay, but you can hear me loud and clear now.
Yes.
All right. Well, all right. We can continue. Let's just continue, and then you can ask that question again. I was just trying to explain what they were up against. You dig? Now, if you look above this Dred Scott presentation, you'll see circa 1790. You see that? AD.
It's above it?
Yeah.
Okay, 1790, yes.
Read that paragraph. You get an idea.
On Wednesday,
yes.
July 20th, 1790, a petition was presented to the House of Representatives from the Sundry Free Moor.
Moor. Yes.
Okay. Subject to the Prince under the Emperor of Morocco in alliance with the United States of America. The Sundry Free Moors Act.
Yep.
Sundry Free Moors Act states that all free Moors may be tried under the same law as the citizen of South Carolina and not under the Negro Act.
Yes. Now, that tells you that the Moors and the Negroes, whoever they classified as Negroes, were different black people than the black Moors. And this is where the problem lies today. We got Negroes and we got Moors living, marrying, and working together, and we don't know who we are.
Okay, now would you say that the Negroes are the ones that belong to the corporation, and the Moors are the ones that's outside of the corporation?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am, again. And this is the problem. And listen to me carefully, since you were born into slavery, into this madness known as United States of America, and do not know who you are, if you are a free Moor by nationality and you don't know it, you're still a slave, and just like the Negro. They lumped you in with the Negro. All of y'all look alike. You remember them saying that? They say it all the time. And that's the major problem that we're having in the United States, dealing with these Europeans. And it works. You know, you can't really argue. Wally B, come here. You can't really argue, because if you don't fight to who you are, you got a problem. And you're going to be treated as a 14th Amendment citizen. Yep.
Now, Ron, when people do their paperwork, they are letting the corporation know that they are not Negroes, they are Moors. Is that correct?
Correct. Now, you don't have to be a Moor. You don't have to be a Moor. You don't have to be a Moor, but that's the title.
Indigenous.
Yes.
Indigenous people.
Yes. You got it?
Yes.
Okay. Now, if you really understand that, and I think you do, you're beginning to see where the problem lies. It all lies in us. It don't lie in them. It lies in us. We cannot clarify who we are. Most people will probably, maybe 50% of us, will say we don't care. They know, they see us. They know we're black. They see us. They know we Christians, that type of thing. And that's, when it comes to corporate law, that none of that makes sense. They can treat you any way they want to treat you. And I'm telling you this, since the United States was set up by 6 European nations, women have never had an equal standing as men, which means that the white male has always been free. We today, of learning who we are challenging the status of the white male. He's always held on to that through power, through force, fear, police department, courts, prosecutors, judges. He's always used that to keep us in line. That's what it's about. That's why their police department is so important. They have to keep us in line, or they'll be knocked off the position. You get it?
Yeah, I got it.
They're not qualified to be citizens anyway, period. Now, they can stay and be a European and stay and be a citizen of the United States, but there's nothing in the United States that's going to make them super rich or give them the status of white supremacy. Because if you recall, when you were young, well, let me say myself, when I was young, I had no idea what white supremacy was. If a white boy got out wrong, or if a black boy got out wrong, if we got in a fight, we got in a fight. There was never a problem with nigger, colored, that type of thing, until I got older and began to see it and learn about it. But racism, as we know it today, I had no idea that went on. And I had to go into the military and find out when I did a legal fight in the military. I got in a fight with a white boy, and then they gave me Article 15 because they said I didn't know how to live with white people. Now, that really flipped me. I didn't know what the hell he was talking about. And I asked, what the hell are you talking about? He said, do you have a problem with white folks? I said, no. He didn't know what to say about that. Then he wanted to know, where did I live? Where did I come from? Where was my parents? All that kind of madness. But my point is, we were taught racism. We never knew how to be free. And that package you just go ahead.
Well, that was part of the takeover. I mean, they came over here and took over, and they did it through a psychological form. They used all of this paperwork and things like that.
Yes, they did. But their point, their intent was always to invade, because they couldn't beat us. So they invaded us because there was too many of us.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So they had to start setting up these laws and rules to freeze us out. And once they got a toehold with this signing of the treaty, they was right in their glory.
Mm-hmm.
Now, read about Dred Scott. Now, this is a guy that thought. Go ahead.
Now, Dred Scott, he was a free man, or he was a Negro?
He was a Negro. Read it. It'll tell you what he was.
Okay. Now, this was in 1857. The Dred Scott case from the United States Supreme Court holds that African Moors imported, captured in an undeclared war of enslavement into this country, Treaties of the United States and several states, and sold as perpetual slaves, were not included nor intended to be included under the word citizen and the Constitution, whether emancipated or not, and remained without rights or privileges except such as those which the government might grant them.
Right. Stop right there. Now that's the whole story of Black America right there. And notice it went back to the Constitution and said the word citizen, whether emancipated or not, and remain without rights or privileges except such as those which the government might grant them. And this was before the 14th Amendment. So the people got in an uproar when the blacks, they saw that they were being tricked. They got in a mean uproar. So what they did, they hurried up and created and added the 13th Amendment. So the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment was added quickly. And what it said was no more slavery, and we know better than that, and I'll explain that in a minute. And it also said that if you were born in America, and we're going to talk about that tonight, if you were born in America, if you were born in the United States, notice how they're going back to the 13th colony. We have been living here hundreds, thousands of years. What no 13th colony? And I tell you, there was blacks that lived and died here that never stepped foot in 13th colony. You got Negroes in Detroit right now that never been on the East Coast. Not only Detroit, all over the United States. You know how we don't travel very much. Never been on the East Coast. Now, we do know that Georgia, South, and North Carolina were part of the 13th colony, so they may have been there, but they don't know anything about the 13th colony. So when they come up with this, they had to train us, teach us, indoctrinate us through the schools to make us think that the United States was everywhere. So if you was in Oregon, they said you were black, you didn't have any rights. And out of our ignorance, because we were taught that way, you got to keep that going. And all of the persons like myself, I never could live back in those years trying to educate my people when they were trying to do what they did. They had to get rid of me. That's why they came up with even the churches. You had to have a peckerwood sitting in the church to make sure you didn't teach this type of information that you and I are talking about. Woo! You understand?
Yes, I see the picture.
Okay. All right. So now go to the next paragraph. The reason why.
Okay, the reason why Moors, Africans, cannot be U.S. citizens because the Moroccan Empire has a business arrangement with the British Empire, European corporate contract citizen Caucasian man. The United States, a foreign European corporation conducting trade and commerce in foreign lands.
Now, you got it? That's it right there.
I got it.
They were sent here to set up commerce, and they're in a foreign land. And anybody that is a part of it are foreigners, because what holds United States together is the court system, which starts with the police officer and goes all the way to the judge and the penal institutions. All of that belongs to a foreign country. So if they are foreign to us, then we are foreign to them.
Exactly.
Okay. So we have to understand that when we talk. We don't need to say we live in the United States. We live in America. If they ask you, tell them we live in North America. Or if you're going to be a Moorish and be able to back it up, you say, well, anywhere I stand is my land, because I'm from all over the earth. You don't have to designate a spot. They know that. We gave them Europe, and there ain't nothing in Europe. Nothing. If you're not around the water, you can't even grow crops. I haven't been to France. I've been to France, but I haven't been to Germany or Russia to see how they get their food and just the farms. I want to see all of that. Do you have it? I don't know. They may import it in. I don't know. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
We got enough water over here, enough land, we can plant crops everywhere. And notice the Europeans always want to be around water. That's why Detroit's so important to it. And Detroit has always been a center of civilization because of the lakes and the rivers. And then you got Minnesota, the land of 1,000, they call it the land of 1,000 lakes. All of that's important to our history. But we were here first. That's important. It's nothing to brag about, but it's something to get your head on right about. It's unbelievable. And if you can follow this and understand this, then you will understand that our status and our jurisdiction is so important. Because they can only go to the Queen, or first they can only go to the Supreme Court. But then, since the Queen has the bar, the British accredited registry, all the court officials belong to the Queen. And how do you expect to get a fair trial? Yeah, if you got to go in there. They're not set up to free you. They're set up to get money. That's what it's all about. And all this language, see all the language we got of the latest incident that Peckerwood Cop threw that girl across the street, that across the room in a chair, all of that. That's natural for them. They're abiding by their rules. It ain't no big deal for a European to do that. It's only a nigger. What are you worried about? You don't have any rights.
They own you. They can do what they want to do. You they slaves.
Yes, ma'am. You're totally correct. Now, their superiors will always try and protect them and try to make it look like something is equal and or can I say fair, but we know it's not. They killed them, all them blacks that got killed in this year. The only thing that came out of it was they gave the family millions of dollars. Now, figure that out. No cop been fired. No cop's been charged. None of that. What about that prosecutor that was on 60 Minutes a couple of weeks ago crying that he put a black man on death row for 29 years? And the week they let him out, or the month they let him out, he dropped dead of cancer. So you know he was suffering all the time. He said he couldn't live with himself. He had to tell the truth because he wanted to get promoted and he had to lie and make a case so he could have a platform to run on. Did anybody mention bringing charges against him? No. They want to debar him or take his P number away, but that ain't no big deal.
He probably was ready to retire anyway.
Yep. Okay. Let's go ahead and finish here. The hidden history of the Moorish people. Go ahead right there.
Wait a minute. Let me get back over here. I was somewhere else. Now, where are we at now?
The hidden history of the Moorish people. It came right after Dred Scott's case. Go all the way down. You start at the hidden history.
I'm here. Okay, the hidden history of the Moorish people with the United States of America is recorded on the back of a Federal Reserve note. There are two seals on the back of the dollar bill. Federal Reserve note, the U.S. currency. On the left side is the great seal of the Moorish Empire. And on the right is the seal of the United States. There are over 33 passwords on the dollar bill. The indigenous sovereign people, the Moors, were snake.
They were snake betrayed.
Okay. Wait a minute. Were snake betrayed by some of the European colonial state citizens. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. My computer messing up. Hold on.
All right.
Okay. Of the European colonial state citizens who enslaved the Moors and branded them Negroes, black, colored, Afro, Hispanic, West Indian, etc., in order to conceal their true identity. So why do they have the two seals on the back of the dollar bill?
Because that treaty that you mentioned earlier, peace and friendship, they have to recognize that the treaty is with the Moors, and they decided to put it on the $1 bill. That's the treaty, or that's the emblem of the treaty, or that's the significance of the treaty. Equal. And nobody knows it. The Masons study it and act like they know something by talking about it. But I told my family, I said, what the hell have you guys done? What can you tell me the Moors has done to lift the people? I never got an answer. But they all didn't like me because I knew more about the Moorish order than they did, because you can only study degree by degree. You're not allowed to go above. So every time I went home, they would always come. I had 5 uncles. they would always, four, my daddy was one. I had four uncles, and they would always come and listen to me so they could learn something. It was I didn't know then what I know now, but I knew that they would be there. And they bring some refreshments, beverages, if you will. And I loved it. And I would tell them all to go to hell and rip them. I could rip them. But they had to know what is here because they wouldn't know how to study all of it. So they would always come to learn. And they told me I would never qualify because I knew too much and talked too much. So they never could corral my knowledge to stay in one bracket or another. You dig? So I told them I didn't want to be corralled like that anyway. When I study, I go all the way. I don't stop and wait. I go all the way. So if you read
do anybody go past the 33 degree? Or
only, what can I call it? Woo! Well, the Moors are not allowed because the Europeans' knowledge only goes to 33, believe it or not. That's why when he goes into the higher learnings, they set up what they call one of the groups is a skull and bones. That's a secret order that those 33rd degree Masons can get into so that they can learn more. But most Europeans can only go to 33, period. I don't give a damn who they are. They can only go to 33. Their brain won't take anymore. Now, you can teach them more, but they have to have you. That's why they love us, because we will tell them what to do.
Mm-hmm.
Most successful white person that you ever known, he had blackies to back him up. And they was always in a quiet, secret position. Never rocked the boat. You need to go back and look at that movie, The Butler. That explains it just like it is. He learned everything. And they didn't feel bad in talking in his presence because they knew he was a good nigga. And he would tell them what to do. Nixon used to brag about his chauffeur. He wouldn't go anywhere without that chauffeur because the chauffeur could go into places where blacks were not allowed, and at the same time he could give Nixon answers to questions that he didn't have answers to. I've experienced that in my life. You probably have too, but maybe you didn't notice it.
Oh, I noticed it.
Yeah, they want you to be a friend, and you think you're moving up. So you go with them and tell them every damn thing. And all they doing is learning.
Yeah.
That's all they do.
Yeah, that's what they do.
Now,
somebody is saying, what about the Shriners?
That's one of the, I would think Skull and Bones and the Bilderberger group, and I don't know them all, but I think they would be a little higher than the Shriners. But the Shriners are up there. They would probably be the highest Mason attached to the Masonic order that you'll find would be the Shriners.
So they're the ones that go a little further than the 33 degrees.
Yes. Now, I tell that person that asked that question, I'll say, have they ever seen and watched the entire Rose Bowl parade? And if they have, they need to see it from the beginning, the starting of it. If they saw it, they would see that Arabian horses with Moors in Arabic garb riding Arabian horses, leading Europeans naked with a lion cloth in front with chains around their neck. That's how they start the parade. Now, I don't know if they still do that, but I saw it with my own eyes. I've always, every time they say the parade's coming on, I try to get it started from the beginning. But if you notice, they never show the beginning now on TV. They just show that it started, and here they come, and all that old crazy stuff. But the parade, the Rose Bowl, which is the richest bowl in the United States and the most money, is owned by the Shriners. So when they do their parade, they have to start it with our history, which was when we ran them out of Africa and put them into Europe. And that's what they show you. Every year they show it to you. The Arabs are naked. I mean, the Europeans are not only naked, they're barefooted, need a shave and a beard with a chain around their neck. Yeah, I don't know, 3 or 4 of them. And the Arabian horses with long rifles be riding behind them on Arabian horses, the Arabs, or better yet, the Moors out of Africa. Now, what do they have to say? What do they have to say about that? They need to look at that.
They said no, they never seen it. They say no more. They said wow. Yep.
That's something to see. I'm telling you. I saw it. I saw it once on TV, and I saw it twice in the street.
Okay.
Yep. They had that parade. Now, apparently they don't do it all the time. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
You dig? Now,
well, we got
that.
A caller. Do you want to take a caller, or do you want to continue?
Yes.
To go.
Let's take a caller.
Okay, area code 720-690.
Hotep, how you doing, Beverly?
Hotep.
How you doing,
yes,
Ron? How are you?
I'm very good,
Good
sir.
to hear
How are
both
you?
of you going over this stuff. I'm very
Thank
good.
you.
I'm very good. Appreciate the input y'all putting in tonight. I live for this kind of knowledge, and I've been studying it for years. And hopefully things go well. I'll be a good guest on Friday with Beverly.
Oh, okay. Yes.
This brother Komet.
Okay.
You have a question, sir?
I want you to just keep going in on what you were just explaining with I think you said the Rose Bowl and the parade they used to do with the Moors.
Yeah.
It's called the Shrine Parade.
I'm familiar with the Morisco. Okay.
Say again?
Because I know they do that in Holland, where they dressed up and put the blackface on every year to commemorate the Moors.
Yes.
But I never heard about the Rose Bowl. I'm fascinated.
I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it in several years, but I did see it in the United States, and I saw it once on TV. And they had that. That's how they start the parade. Maybe I can do some research and get some pictures and let you see it. But the shrine is they own the Rose Bowl. That's why it's so rich. And you know they got that big hospital up in New York, the Shrine Hospital.
Right.
And they take care of children's hospital. And see,
they're big out here in Colorado as well.
Yes. They probably, you go online, Google the start of the Shrine Parade, the Rose Bowl, and put in their Arabian horses and see what comes up. I wouldn't be surprised if they don't show
That's
you.
interesting.
Yeah.
And I do have a question for you though.
All right.
Go ahead. When you stated that the Moors with the Sundry Free Moors Act, that they were distinguishing themselves from the Negro. My question is, with the Native American or indigenous or cotonous, whatever we call it, status, who were the Negroes that were counter-distinct from the Moor?
Well, I would only have to guess. They did bring slaves over here during that indigenous trips. Now, you know about the indigenous servitude. They taught you that in school. But they never told you, they may have told you, too, that they were white. Well, I'm telling you, they were
right.
both.
Right. I'm
black
well aware.
and white.
Yeah.
All right.
Right.
All right. So they came from over there and come here. And so I would think that they were labeled Negroes because they were slaves.
Okay.
But the Moors were too proud and too upright. And you know what upright means. They were too proud and knew who they were, and the European couldn't do anything with them. So they had to distinguish. That's why what I read, or what Beverly read, was a court order. That was a court order. And it's on the books today in South Carolina. And it states that they put the and you got to learn this too. They put the court system on notice that we are Moors and do not, if we make any criminal have to come to your court, you will not use the Negro system on us. We are Moors. So they was going in there probably with their garb on. That's why when George Washington got in power, the first thing he said was, we got to do something with them Moors and don't let them wear their garb around and sandals and those turbans. And don't let them wear that. And make it very ugly for them to do that. And by saying that, they would lump those Moors in with the Negroes because they got more production out of the Negro financially and labor than they did out of the upright man. You get it?
Yes,
so
I do. I guess my question is, at that, go ahead, I'm sorry.
But, well, they won't let you today. You are black and you are a Negro. I'm just saying, go with me on this. They won't let you. They frown on you if you try and say that you're going to be a Moor, a Wachita, a Olmec. Once you start talking about status, they turn on you. Am I right or wrong? All right. But they don't want you to get out of the fold. Because they can't tell if they let you be a Moor or whatever, they are in trouble because they can't distinguish you from the Negro. Now, let's just call the Negro an idiot black man. For a better term at this time. And they could get more out of him than they could get out of you. Because you're going to talk back to him if you're a Moor. You're going to tell him who you are. And that's what we're teaching. I'm trying to teach you today. You got to get back to that. Find out who you are and stand up. Be upright. Look them right in the face.
I guess because my question, I studied these issues for a while and learning something every day. It's just remarkable how much there is to learn. And from reading a book called Christianity and Absolutism in pre-colonial or in colonial Mexico, 1693 to like 18 something. It talked about how they labeled the blacks that they captured in different ways, and they had castas. So they had the 37 or so labels for the different racial variations that you could have, the combinations of different races. But one of the basic things they said in there was that when it was a Negro or a black person from the Americas that they found already here, they called them Negro de Terra, which means a Negro from the land. And I didn't know that before I read that book, that there were already Negroes or black archetypes with the nappy hair, melanated skin already throughout the Americas. I didn't know they were already there when I read that. And so what he said was that the Africans they would bring from another land would be called Negro de Guine or de Guinea. Kind of like the Latin people, Italian, Spanish still call us Guinea people. That's what they was calling Don Corleone in Godfather. They called him a Guinea because he was Sicilian.
Right.
And so they called us Negro de Guinea. I'm sorry, go ahead.
All right. There are several points I want to make on that, and I understand what you're saying.
Okay.
But I will tell you this. That book was probably written by either a European or a Christian in that system where that book was written about. So they were on the inside, and they had to label those that were on the outside. That's kind of tricky, but I'm learning as I read these things.
Right.
It's very important who wrote it and where were they when they wrote it.
Right, to know whose perspective and context. Right. Right.
Yes, brother. Yes.
And I thought,
now,
just for my own self, you know, I'm a bookseller and I sell books, and that was one of the ones that was untraditionally forthright with knowledge that other books didn't provide. That particular book. That's by a guy named Bennett, in fact.
All right.
And it's the University of some university press. And I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just saying it enlightened the issue on the various classifications that the Spanish did. And I said all of that to say this. In my understanding, and tell me if it could be corrected. In my understanding, most of the so-called slaves purchased for the American economy, for the United States European economy. Most of those slaves in the earlier parts of slavery were purchased from the Spanish, and then they didn't actually go and catch most of them. They went and got them from the Spanish.
Yes.
And from that understanding, then the Spaniards imported Moors that were denationalized in Spain as the Africans that they imported. The other blacks were already here. And so what I'm asking you about the first question is, what percentage of the blacks at the time, 1790 with the Sundry Free Moors Act, what percentage of the blacks were actually bloodline of the actual Moors that were global, and what percentage of the Negro were actually just the indigenous Olmec remnants in the black civilization that was already here?
Well, I'm going to tell you the answer to that in a joking way. That's top secret. They will never tell you that. They will never tell you that. There's no answer. I don't know. I truly don't know. But that would have to be top secret because they've never told you how many. You don't know how many blacks are here today. They give you that number, that figure.
Right.
But yet we are in the forefront of every activity in the United States. Blacks are involved. I don't care where you go. Blacks are involved. But yet they tell us we're only 20 million or we're only 25 million now, that type of thing. That's ridiculous. And they say that the Mexicans is out populating us. Okay, ain't no big deal. But why are you still fooling with us? Why don't you deal with them instead of dealing with us? But there's got to be a reason why they want us to stay on the bottom. And I think that reason is in our heads and in your head because you have the knowledge to free the earth, and they want to keep you down and not be able to let you explore that.
And I think we're the only ones with the fullest legitimate claim to the land, too. I agree with you 100%.
Yes, brother. And I mean, when you say land, I'm talking about the earth. I ain't talking about your lot or Detroit or Michigan. I'm talking about the earth. And here's another good point, we are the only ones that can bring peace on earth. Europeans can't live with each other.
That's correct.
And everywhere they go, they start a conflict. And they got the biggest war machine in the world, and they still can't win battles. They done screwed up over there in the Middle East. Now Obama is supposedly trying to get out of it and back out. And listen to them whiteys up there. They about to attack Obama. They're about to shoot Obama. And if you listen to the strategy, it's a good strategy because he's doing what they've been saying they wanted him to do all the time, was let them fight their own war and get the Americans out of it. And that's what Obama's trying to do, bring them out of it. And then I was looking at that Graham. What's that punk's name? Graham, Senator Graham from South Carolina. I was listening to that dude today. He was screaming.
Lindsey Graham, yeah.
He was screaming, pounding. I was going crazy. It's literally saying Obama is a sellout. American people is in danger. Blah, 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 blah. All that, I mean, it's downright ridiculous. So I'll say again, we're the only ones that can bring peace on earth. We're the only ones. We're the only ones that know what peace is. Now, we've been here. We're blessed with it. We may not like it. I don't like it because I'm ready to go to war if I could. But, I know we can't win a war because they got too many weapons. They're too big. But our minds can free us, and that's what I'm trying to do. Explore your mind and the answers are there. And with you being a bookseller, I would like for you to take my email address, because I got some questions and I need some books and I need some answers that you may know of and may know the answer. If you get an opportunity,
and there's a lot of good books. Let me get a pen. There's a lot of good books on the very subjects you cover, and I mean, it's just unbelievable how much evidence there really is. We just have to really focus and look at it.
That's why I want to get with you. Yes.
Let me write this down.
All right. Ron Marks Show, SHOW. One word. Ron Marks Show at yahoo.com.
What I'll do is I'll send you a current book list.
Okay, good. I'll know who you are, and we'll stay in touch. I got some questions for you.
Yeah, commit,
right.
KMT.
Commit.
And I will, and the name of the store is Kemet to Ma'akaru, so I'll be sending it from that email.
All right. I'm looking forward to it.
Okay.
And I appreciate all the work and time both of y'all have put in. I'm going to go on mute and listen in. And I appreciate it. Keep going in on that history. That's making us strong. I appreciate it.
All right. And thank you, Kemet. And you will be joining us Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
All right.
Okay, Ron.
All right. Now, if you go back, and I was looking. Oh yeah, I brought it up. The myth. I got a piece here. I didn't send this to you, man, but it's called Ouachita, Umassey, Iroquois, Cherokee, Choctaw, Blackfoot, Pequot, Mohegan, and are all the indigenous people of America. Now notice that title. In 1993, the United States Center for Human Rights recognized the Ouachita de Dugdamayu Moors Empire as the oldest indigenous group of people on Earth. The registered project number is 215/93. Ensued, just read this, from 15 million to 20 million slaves arrived in America between 1540 and 1850, over a 310-year period, according to U.S. history books. Now notice that number, 15 million to 20 million. If you look at the following facts of published material, we are living under another ideological part of American revisionist history. Now that word revisionist is very dangerous. Those are writers that write and change history. And that's what I was trying to tell that brother, that we got to be careful when we read some of this stuff. And the closer they get to our history, the bigger lies they'll tell. Because Negro, at one time, it only means black. Indigo and Negro, it only represents black. Like when what's name called, when Columbus called the people he saw Indians. Well, he was only talking about black people. Indigo, Indi, all of that is by definition is black. So they take these revisionist historians who get a lot of money to write. They got degrees and PhDs. They write all this trash, and they get paid for it. They get awards and all kind of crazy stuff. Also, the following undermines the whole breadth and depth of what is written in American history books. By using simple calculations, the following information can be ascertained. Over a period of 300 years, it is fair to say that 60 ships, or better yet, 60 slaves were transported annually to the Americas, or has the transportation of slaves to America been one of the big myths? They're talking about the figure that they say came There's no way for them to get them across the ocean. The largest seagoing vessel in history back in those days carried 400 slaves. That's what they say. But not all ships were that large. Time of passage was 3 to 4 months. So that means not only do you have to put 400 slaves on a ship, you got to have enough food to feed 400 slaves and water to drink, because you can't drink that ocean water. That means 200 vessels, ships, per year would have to travel across carrying 300 people going into this 15 to 20 million. One ship could only make 3 passages a year because they could only cross at a certain time because the water was so rough. We still talk about 3 or 4 months to get across. You don't have enough time to do any more than 3 trips. And that's if all goes well, in and out. The transatlantic slave trade database says that there were 11,000 to 1,100 to 1,400 voyages made over that 300-year period. If that is the case, and each ship carried 400 people, the total number would be 560,000. That isn't even 1 million were transported. It still does not add up. We already know that over 83% of all Americans with African ancestral descent, of African descent, have Native American blood, meaning that they were here all the time. Now, you know I told you, Bev, my DNA came back, and they said that I had 9% indigenous American.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's very important to me, very important, because they gave me 82% Sahara African, 4%, I needed 18 more, so 4% European, 5% Asian, and 9% indigenous American. So if that's true, then I had to be here all the time. How'd that blood get in me?
They all came from you.
That 20 million, I don't know. It's totally impossible. Did the Native American tribes help slaves escape, or were Americans with African ancestry already part of the Native American nation? They never let you unite the two. If you ever read any book you read, they will always distinguish that the Indian is not an American. Now, I brought my a law dictionary. This is Barron's 6th edition of Legal Guides of Barron's Law Dictionary. This is one of the books that the lawyers carry above and beyond Black Laws Dictionary. And I go over to Indian laws. Indian law. Damn, he's funny small. Now listen what it says. Indian law, area of law relating to Native Americans. Native Americans is the preferred term for indigenous Americans. Do you hear that, Ben?
Yep. I hear you.
Native Americans is the preferred, not the legal, but preferred term for indigenous Americans. So that makes the Indian and so-called Indian and the black man the same. We all have Indian in our blood, or we all have somebody in our families that was Indian or so-called Indian. However, many statutes and treaties use the term Indian, and it is for the reason only that the reference is included herein. Let me get that again. However, many statutes and treaties use the term Indian, and it is for that reason only that the reference is included herein. So they only use the word Indian to just differentiate at their own terms who was and who was not an Indian, and they make that up. So I guess I don't know if they couldn't do DNA on me back in 1800s. So how would they determine that I was or was not a Indian? Now, when I read books, I got this book, Noble Drew Ali's grandfather, the Cherokee Confederation. And in the book, when they speak of so-called Indians, especially the Iroquois, they always say full-blooded Cherokee, full-blooded Iroquois, which tells me that something was going on back in them days that I'm not really clear on other than racism. But how would they know the difference? You see what I'm saying?
Well, they had to be having sex with the Europeans had to be having sex with the indigenous people.
Yes, but it's a base. See, black is a dominant color. All colors come from black. So if a European has sex with a so-called Indian or a light-skinned mulatto, the chances of that baby is going to be black. Now, maybe not black in color, but black in features. You dig it? Very seldom do you see a black boy with blonde hair, blue eyes, and pale skin. I mean, not pale skin, black skin. But you'll always see it reversed. A very light-skinned brother with light-skinned brother with nappy hair and blue eyes or gray eyes. So that only tells you that the dominant, and they got words for all of this, chromosomes and all that kind of stuff, it all comes from black folks. But in order for them to keep us into this box of nothingness, and that's what I was telling that brother, Timothy, they will keep us separated by labeling us different than the rest. And we need to set up our own status. We don't need their approval because we don't belong to the United States anyway.
Right.
And
so why are we sending papers to them and getting things authenticated if we don't need their approval, or are we just putting them on notice of who we are?
I wish you would have answered that yourself. When I give you the answer, you're going to see what I'm trying to get to you. The reason that we have to get our paperwork authenticated is because our mother had a contract with the United States.
The informant.
Yes. And in order to release the contract, we have to get it authenticated.
All right.
You understand? Now, to my knowledge of this, go ahead.
No, I'm listening.
Oh, to my knowledge, there's only another reason to get authentication. This one is very important when it comes to debt. And I've been trying to do a program on debt. I just haven't had a chance to do it. When they create what you know as, what they tell you is secured interest into your property. In other words, anytime you get something on credit, they steal it right off the bat. And they give it to England. It works itself to England. Now, it works itself, you don't send a car if you buy a car to England, but they send the paperwork through the system. And once you start paying the paperwork on the car, such as taxes, such as payments, and all of that, all those funds eventually end up, or partially, those funds end up in England. Now, in order for you to get out from under that debt, you have to figure out what is and how can you destroy the so-called secured interest. Now, the only way you can do it is to authenticate a carbon copy of it. What is a carbon copy of it? The document that you signed that you thought was a contract, It was only one signature on that. And they take that paper and take it away from you. You'll never see it again. Why? Because they sell it. And then when you go to court and tell the judge, but I didn't have a contract with these people. I don't even know who this person is. So that person will say to the judge, well, I bought this contract from Countrywide, for example. So the judge will look at you. Now he knows you know a little bit, but you don't know enough. But he's going to find out just how much you know. So he's going to say, Mr. March, do you live at so-and-so address? Yes, sir. Mr. March, did you make payments on? Well, I haven't made any lately, but I have made you made payments? Yes. Well, they don't have to show you the contract because you haven't completed all the payments. You got a 30-year mortgage. And since they hold the secured interest to the house, I have to rule in their favor. So you'll say out of ignorance, well, what the hell is a secured interest? What the hell do they have? And the judge will say to you, well, I'm not here to teach you law. I think if you get you an attorney, he will be able to explain that to you. Next case. Did you understand that, Ben?
Yeah. They have secure interest because they got the promissory note.
Yes. And the only way you can get, now, don't think because you authenticated your birth certificate, you have the original birth certificate, you'll never see that original birth certificate. The one where your mama signed it and the wet ink and all of that, you'll never see that. What they give you is a copy of it. But according to Title 28, and I believe it's 1733, I'm probably wrong, but that law says that if you authenticate any document, book, paperwork that pertains to compensation, money, you can use the copy of the authenticated copy as the original. Now, what does that mean? That means whatever they got locked up, you have trumped it because you got the original now. And if they try to argue, you say, well, bring it out and show it. They can't bring it out because it'll show that they have been crooks all the time because there was never an original contract signed. So all the payments you made, you paid them in vain because you paid for it when you signed your name. Do you get it, Beth?
And that's any kind of contract.
Yes.
That's pertaining to any contract.
Any contract, yes. Yes. I've been down to the General Motors building at least 3 times, and I'm going again this week, tomorrow or Friday, with some more documents to get them authenticated. Number one, I got my, warranty deed. See, everybody that purchased a home, they gave them a copy of the warranty deed. That's what starts this so-called security agreement. You get that before you get the promissory note. Well, it's the same day. It's in the paperwork. You know what I mean? So I got that authenticated, which means they only name on that is mine. There's no Countrywide. There's no Trot and Trot. There's no Bank of America, BAC. None of that's on there. What the hell are you talking about? You own my house. How could you sell it when you're not the true party of interest? You see what I'm saying? You got to be creative in this kind of stuff. Now, the allodial title that they claim that they don't recognize, I don't care. I made a allodial title in 2012. I took it down and had it recorded, and now I have it authenticated. What the hell I care what they say? How are they going to sell it with a lien on it? You follow me?
Yeah.
You, as they say, you feel me?
Yes, I feel you.
And all of this is just a matter of understanding that, first of all, you're dealing with crooks. And that's one of the hardest things that we as black folks can understand, because our hearts are so pure. They take advantage of us because we are pure at heart.
Yeah.
That's why I try to be as ugly as I can, so don't think you're going to get a deal here. That's why I bark at people. And my people that know me, they say, Ron, you just do that shit for fun. I said, you're right. But I don't want nobody to take advantage of me. But my heart is pure. And once they get to you, that's one reason why I cut back on my time slot. When I hear a person's in trouble, my first thought is to help.
Mm-hmm.
You see? And I can't, you just can't help everybody, because they only going to call you 5 days or less before they got to go to court. Now, what they expect you to do? Oh, they're going to throw me in the street. What you want me to do? Pay your bills. I've been out of work. But you see, why didn't you come to me 2 months ago, a year ago? We could have been doing something. You're going to wait till they coming out Monday and throw your butt in the street. Now you want me to make a move. I don't have a silver bullet. I don't know what I can do for you.
Since they came over here and took over through European psychology, then this is how we have to get it back, through our psychology, our spirituality.
Yes, sister. Yes, you got it. And one of our biggest weapons that I've learned since Jonah Bay left in that seminar, we need to put our spirit into all of our works.
Yeah.
That means that you can't take what Ron Marks said or did. You got to understand what Ron Marks said and did. Now you got to do it in your own words to fit your own situation. And that spirit will be in that paperwork.
Yeah.
Believe it or not. And when you seal that sucker and put it in the mail, you can almost see the steam coming from that envelope. Because that baby's hot. Yeah. Get ready to set somebody's butt on fire. And all of that comes from...
And they can feel it when they receive it on the other end. They will be able to feel you.
Yes, they will. And they'll know better than to fool with you. Yes. You can stand and look at one of them, and they know not to fool with you.
Mm-hmm.
But those things, we're so busy either denying it or praising Jesus that we miss all of those things, those miracles, or those righteous.
We don't believe it. We believe in the wrong thing. We don't believe it.
Yes. Yep. There you go. You know, I'm looking at this Moor Sundry Act. All you listeners can look it up. It's called the Moor Sundry Act of 1790. It's on the books today in South Carolina. It was passed in South Carolina's legislation, granting special status. See, this is nothing more than what we are trying to do, Bev, with the injunction.
Mm-hmm.
We want to set up the Moor Sundry Act. Now, it don't have to be Moors, because I told you, I'm going back to the Omic. I'm not going to deal with the Moors per se. I am a Moor. You can call me a Moor. But my nationality is Omic/Indigenous American. See?
Right.
And that puts me 20, 30, 40 years back in time. And that will set them on fire right there. Because they never put anything of value on your applications and different forms. So I started leaving them all blank. I don't even put nothing in them. And then sometimes you'll see it where it says, if you want to, or check one box if you wish. Who are you? What difference does it make? I got my insurances in order, and I'm sick, and I'm in the hospital. Now, that's it. Get busy. I ain't got to tell you all that crap. But anyway, granting special status to the subjects of Sultan of Morocco, Mohammed bin Abdullah. That's Muhammad III. It recognized Moors as white people with jury duty as a privilege. Moors were not to be subject to the laws governing blacks and slaves. This was just rewritten in a different way to give you more insight, Bev.
Mm-hmm.
The Comprehensive Negro Act of 1740. Ooh, this is another one. This was 50 years earlier. Passed also in South Carolina. Made it illegal for slaves to move abroad, assemble in groups, raise food, earn money, learn to read English. Additionally, owners were permitted to kill rebellious slaves if necessary. I never heard of that act. That's called the Negro Act of 1740. So I think your people should be writing it down. My people should be writing this down. Look up the Negro Act of 1740 and the Moors Sundry Act of 1790.
Okay.
Yep. Okay?
Gotcha.
All of this information is good information because it's going to help you.
What it do, Ron, it gives you a full understanding of what you're talking about. It kind of gets you, let you see the picture more clearly.
Yes. And it also strengthens your spirit that you will eliminate your fear. Remember that Brother Tibbet said, the more you learn, the less fearful you are. And the more you can stand up upright. Because they don't like you to stand up upright. I think that girl that got killed in Texas, she stood up upright and made that Peckerwood mad. Sandra. Blunt. Yep, you know what I'm talking about. That supposedly hung herself in jail.
Yeah.
I think she stood upright and made that Peckerwood mad. He's from down there in that area. You did. Now we got the second of Moor. I don't know what this is. The oldest. It's talking about the oldest indigenous people on earth is the Ouachita, the Mayu Moors. On the second of Moor, 25,000 years ago, MUU, the Ouachita people. And notice, 25,000 years ago, the Ouachita people decided to leave their native land of Moor. Moor had become a decadent and power hungry Moor. But the Ouachita were a peaceful, righteous, and honorable family. Notice they call them a family. We talk about Ouachita Moors. They all belong to a family. Monarchy society since the time of the Empress Ismaili, the great Amazon warrior of MUU. It is estimated that her reign began some 100,000 years ago. The ancient Ouachita were musicians, historians, herbalists, and architects. Their reputation reached far and near. After millennia of spirit and physical wealth and abundance, the wars and significant differences began to occur between neighbors. Forbidden technological powers were used to destroy one another. The Ouachita Empire has traditionally been ruled by intuitive and spiritual women with the bloodline dating back to the great Empress Ishmaeli of Mu proper. Now, I would like to stop and add that Mu, M-U-U, the land of Mu, was the Pacific Ocean without water prior to the great cataclysmic earthquake, one of the cataclysmic earthquakes. And she knew that the earthquake was coming, and they all moved east and landed in what we know today as California and went inland. So when the earthquake came, those that left, they were saved. And I'm sure you know, Bev, that animals are totally aware of cataclysmic disasters.
Yes,
they have some type of pre-notion.
Yeah.
The elephants and the monkeys in Malaysia during the tsunami, very few of them died in that humongous tidal wave, because they all moved up into higher ground. We have that knowledge also. But we're too busy listening to Puff Daddy and all that kind of crap. We can't hear our own bodies and our own spirits talk to us.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
What it is they tap into the frequencies.
And it goes on. Here it says, she saw the impending doom of her homeland move. She began to send the architects and their families east to the Holy Land called Wachita del Dumayu to survey and construct living quarters. And you know that big river in 5 states and that national forest is called Wachita, and they spell it with an O, Wachita Park, National Park. It's right there in Arkansas. I can't name them all. Arkansas, Nevada. I'm looking at Mexico. That river and that forest, national forest, goes through 5 states to survey the living quarters. Thus, the pyramids and mounds of Wachita del Dumayu, now known as United States, were constructed. Mounds and pyramids can be found throughout Ohio Valley, the Tennessee Valley, Mississippi Valley, and Grand Canyon. I just talked about Grand Canyon earlier today. We are Aborigines, or as Lewis and Clark called us, the black and brown bushy-headed original inhabitants of North America. The Wachita and the Tunic families carry the imperial bloodline. Okay, man, we're at the bottom of the hour, end of the show.
Yes.
I'd just like to say that I want to remind everyone that I'm on a 4-day work week. My emails will be open, but my phone will be down from 10 o'clock Monday a.m. It opens up 10 o'clock a.m. Monday to 6 p.m. on Thursdays. And I do that so that I can catch up on all of my commitments, both private and public. But you still can email me, and you can also text me, but I'll get everything on Monday. Do you have anything to close with, Beth?
Well, I just want to
say... When are you on? You're on Friday?
Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with Kemet and his wife, and they're going to bring some good information. And that's what I read, that this is how you win this battle through truth. And that's what we're doing, you and other people.
Right. What about your early daytime TV show? Are you still there?
I'll talk to you about that off the air. I talked to RJ this morning. Okay.
All right. I can imagine.
So,
all right, until next week. Yep, I can imagine.
Okay.
Till next week,